Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Oliveira is out of his rematch against Islam Makhachev at UFC 294, which is 11 days from right now. And boys, there is no other way to put it. I am devastated. This is not the video I wanted to put out right now. I have another video cooked up that's fire, and this is just devastating news for fans across the world. However, Alexander Volkanovski, what a Chad, steps in on 11 days notice, and these are not ideal circumstances at all for him, but as you can see here, the bout is official. I questioned whether or not we would get this rematch, and we're getting it. You know, not the best circumstances for Volkanovski or Islam, but I mean, this is what it is, man. Charles Oliveira, Dana White said he suffered a cut above his eyebrow in the 5th round of sparring. Super unfortunate. But I am glad to hear it was an injury, because I don't think Charles really enjoys the pressure of being in Abu Dhabi. So I almost thought he was gonna pull out just because he doesn't like to be in Abu Dhabi, and that was the situation. And I mean, this is just super unfortunate circumstances. I don't even have too much to say about it, other than, I mean, Volkanovski, what a guy. Yeah, this is absolutely devastating, guys. I don't know how many times I can say it, but let's talk about this fight. I mean, how's it going to go? And first of all, guys, on Charles and Islam 2, I was so close to picking Charles. I was still going to go with Makhachev at the end of the day, but I still had it in the back of my mind, you know. Hey, man, Charles, first round knockout, it'd make up for the pain I felt last year. But, you know, that's not going to happen now. So how's this fight going to go? I think Volkanovski has more room to improve than Islam does from the first fight. You know what I mean? I think Islam maybe overlooked him a little bit and won't this time. But I think that's the only difference that Islam can really make. Other than that, you know, I think Volkanovski, I've always thought about this rematch, and I feel like Volkanovski's gonna have an easier time catching him, I should say. I think that he kind of knows he can get in the pocket with Islam a little more, because his wrestling isn't that dangerous. Obviously it's dangerous, guys, but I'm talking about to Volkanovski, because, I mean, Volk had Makhachev on his back for a majority of that fight and was able to hang in there, you know what I mean? So, I'm not saying I think Volk is going to knock him out, but I think Volk will make the proper adjustments necessary to win this fight. And I don't think he's going to get finished. I don't think that. I think it all depends on how Islam comes into this. And, of course, Volkanovski, too, because if you guys remember, Volk bulked up to lightweight. He took a little while to do that, so he obviously doesn't have much time to bulk for this, but he's just that type of guy. He just doesn't care. So, I mean, it's going to come down to Islam and how he prepared. I'm sure he was preparing for a more aggressive style in Charles Oliveira. But the one thing about Islam that we can't take away is his ability to pressure. You know, I'm sure he's been working on pressuring Oliveira all camp. Volk is not the type of guy. You know what I mean? Volk won't really take that shit the same. So, I mean, early prediction, guys, I love Volkanovski, but these circumstances are simply just not ideal. So, I'm taking Islam by decision. Like I said in the start of this video, guys, I'm not mad about this fight, but I'm devastated that we lost the Charles fight. I don't know what the UFC is going to do with Charles now. I can kind of see them punishing him and maybe making him take that Gamrot fight. And when I say punish, I don't mean like the UFC, oh, fuck you, Charles. But I do mean, like, you know, they definitely don't appreciate this. You know what I mean? So they might have him fight another contender. I think if he does fight Gamrot, I think he will beat Gamrot and then get another title shot against the winner of this fight. Something else that I want to mention is I heard that Volkanovsky was set for UFC 297 in January, and I heard that was like pretty close to being finalized. And unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get that fight now. I would have loved Volk versus Topuria. I'm sure that fight is still gonna happen. Volk will still be the champion in featherweight, even if he loses this fight, and he just defended the belt in July, so he has time. You know what I mean? But the outcome of this will affect my pick in that fight. If he takes a shit ton of damage and even gets finished, and he's getting up there in age, I like Ilya to beat him. Not because he's more skilled, but Ilya just has that energy, you know what I mean? So this is an absolute shame. And the next thing I want to talk about is fucking Paulo Costa, guys. I just had a bad feeling this fight wouldn't happen. I want Khamzat in the octagon, and they chose the most unreliable fighter of all time, pretty much. Costa has missed weight, he's pulled out of a ton of fights, and he just is always up to a ton of shenanigans. And I think that Paulo put this injury out there as a built-in excuse. I think Paulo had no chance of beating Khamzat Chimaev, and I mean, I think he put that injury out there as a crutch, to be like, hey, well, I have this injury, so if I lose, it's because I'm injured, kind of taking away from Khamzat's win. But now this fight is in jeopardy of not even happening. Do they find a replacement for Khamzat? If so, who would it be? Who's willing to fight Khamzat Chimaev on 11 days' notice? I don't think Dricus is going to want to put his number one contender spot up for grabs like that. I mean, going through the top 5, I don't think Vettori's going to fight anytime soon. I think the only person I can think of that would consider taking the fight is Jared Cannonier. And that would be a hell of a fight. I prefer that fight from the start. Like, this Costa fight, I think, was always a mismatch. And Jared Cannonier is a tough out for Khamzat. I'm not saying Jared Cannonier would beat him, but Jared is a hard guy to finish. You know what I mean? And Khamzat, as we know, he just steamrolls everybody. I don't think Cannonier is a guy you can steamroll. He is so big, and he is so... Cannonier has a fight booked. Oh, my God, man. Cannonier is booked already for December against Dolidze. So and Dolidze is kind of a easy fight for Cannonier, you know what I mean? So I doubt he's going to want to give up that fight and a potential win. Plus, not to mention, he just weighed in as the backup for UFC 293. I doubt he's going to want to do another favor, another weight cut so quickly. This UFC 294 card is in complete shambles, guys. It's super disappointing. This card takes place super close to my birthday, and it was going to be just like last year. I had everyone over to watch UFC 280. This year I was going to have everyone over to watch UFC 294. And, we're potentially going to lose the co-main event. And the main event, don't get me wrong, I love Volk and Islam as a fight, but I just don't know, man. I guess to wrap up my thoughts in this video, I'm going to be dropping another video tomorrow that's a little happier and not so on the fly. I literally just heard the news and I'm hopping on here. So, yeah, guys, I mean, Volk is a savage. You know what I mean? That is my ultimate takeaway. And I'm disappointed we might never see Charles and Islam too. You know what I mean? That was the fight that I personally would have wanted to see, because I don't think that Charles showed up the first time. I think it's a bad excuse, all right? I'm not afraid to admit that, but he looked off out there. You know what I mean? I remember thinking that. I remember being like, he looks nervous. The pressure of being in Abu Dhabi. He doesn't deal with it well. So, absolute shame. And as far as Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa, I think this was always Paulo's plan. You know what I mean? The UFC hates Paulo Costa, and I'm sure that it's the hate is even worse now. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if they just cut him. Just cut his ass. You know what I mean? He has no relevant wins anyway. He's just taking up a ranking spot. He barely fights. Cut Paulo Costa and give Volk like $3 million for showing up. I'm being dead serious. Give him 7 figures, a shit ton of money. He deserves it. Volk is a savage, guys. Another reason he's my favorite fighter. Another reason he's the profile of this channel. I was thinking about changing it, but now I'm not. He's such a badass. We got to keep Volk up there. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I got another video coming soon, and yeah, let me know your thoughts on this whole thing in the comments below, guys. This is devastating. I'll see you next time.